Yeah, it was really great. I was asking Stephanie about her problem of practice, and because we were talking about Christy's project, and she's sort of narrowing things down, and I felt like it's the problem of practice. Once Christy identified that, I reflected to her that that's where we see Christy Campbell show up in the project, because it's prior to that, it's just a problem in the community, it's just a problem in the school, problem in wherever. But that personal element where Christy says, "This is what's bugging me. This is what I worry about at night," and that's sort of driving her next steps. And so we were talking um, about Stephanie's project, and she was saying that she feels like that maybe is what's missing from her project right now. And so we were kind of pursuing that. That Stephanie, I think you do have your community had a need, and you're meeting that need. And so I think if you just sort of flesh out what the problem was prior to this project. uh,
Okay, so basically our kindergarten readiness skills weren't there. We had several kids that couldn't get services. So that's our problem. And then our solution was we created the 5 day a week full day program. And then my project is basically everything that was required to set that up. We had to have a schedule. We had to have, um, it has a unit in there that we cover, the toolkits for behavior. And those things help me because this is my first year in preschool. You know, I don't,
mm-hmm.
I don't know I don't know all the little stuff. I know big kid stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah. So that's what we were talking about, just the importance of uh, identifying that problem. And it does exist in the data. It does exist in wherever you are, whatever. But it's, to me, and I don't know if Jamie or Grace or any of these other would agree, but to me, when I read a thesis, uh, a proposal, to me, that's where the personal part comes in. It's Colby saying, "My God, I think that I can affect behavior and academic scores because of this passion that I have for PE and activity and so on." When you start doing that, it becomes a really compelling project, because you see the head of the project kind of in it. You see that they have a lot of skin in the game, and they as Jamie said, I think this describes it so perfectly. The problem of practice just keeps them up at night. I think I can solve this. It wakes you up at 2 in the morning. I know I can do something great here. This is, if I just try this thing, it'll work. So anyway.
It's also really neat, Skip, how your principal believes in you. So, like, my principal believes in what I'm doing. She let me test it out first, and I've done it for 3 years now. I started it in 2018 school year, the classroom huddles and leader and me, and I'm just going to adjust it for my capstone and pull in my content of special education. I want to help my special education students. So this is something I've been doing, just me. I can never get anybody on board here at school because it is extra work. But once you get your kids in the expectations and routine, it only takes 5 minutes, 2 days a week. And so my principal said, "You start it." So I did it in January to May this year. And which she just learned about it because she was new last year as our principal. But hopefully, after the fall semester, after Christmas, we're going to do it school wide, January to May. And all of us, the whole school, is doing class huddles and meeting. And mine actually affects behavior and academics because it's goal setting and leader and me. And so, quarter 1 this year, my teammate and I are doing. I finally got somebody on board, my teammate in 4th grade. We're doing behavior for quarter 1, goal setting. Quarter 2 is going to be reading. Quarter 3 is math, and quarter 4 is a personal goal outside of school. So, and my dad is going to come and help with STAR. So all my data is coming through STAR, taking the STAR data where we were last year and see if it improves. Because I've seen improvement in my kids, but I want it to be school wide. So I'm just like Colby. I see something that could benefit both behavior and academic. So excited.
And Christy, I hope you were listening there because Christy wants to narrow her data set to special ed initially, right, Christy?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what.
So that's, to me, that's perfect. And I think the only thing you would do is you would add at some point in your project and maybe in the conclusion section toward the end, or I would even talk about in the first three sections, that you think, even though you're starting with a narrowed population, that you think it's scalable. And that when you have these great results with this particular population, it's scalable to other groups and how it can be impactful for other people too. So good.
Well, it seems like that phrase problem of practice really gave life to parts 1 and 2 in the capstone forms, those templates, I think they're called. Yeah, that's neat. I'm glad that really made it more personal. And because you really have to have that before you can have a goal and a purpose. I mean, otherwise you're just having activities. I mean, we know that's not where you want to be. So that's neat. Anything else then about we want to share before we move on? Because we're going to take this thinking that we've been thinking about the capstone and launch it into looking at the classroom artifacts. What we're going to do next. But is there anything else, any big aha or even challenge or question that came up you think that's worth us talking about? Okay. We're going to move then, go back to our agenda. And we're moving on to look ahead. So you remember this. I know you saw it in December, and I know, just like me, it's been burned in your mind since last December. Not, right? But this is something, we talk about your briefcase. This is something that's helpful to you. Whoops, there we go. We got to make a copy. Takes just a second. There we go. So now you can start to see, now you're in second semester of year 1, that this would be very helpful to you. So when you see this form, you can start to fill it in, and you might start filling in what you think might be artifact 4, 5, and 6, but that could change. 5 and 6 might change, but we really want you to start filling this form out. And that is something that you do, put into your briefcase, and you start to see just a few notes then about your capstone. This is related to that piece of the capstone where it has the evaluation guide. And you can just jot some notes there. This is probably a great form or tool to use with your mentor. Because just like you said earlier, your Mary Caitlin, your mentor went back because this would really help your mentor to kind of keep that. I think that would be a great forum for that. Let's go back.
Miss Jamie, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I have just pulled up from in the depths of my GRREC Ed folder in Google. Professional Educator Academic Personalized Learning Plan, which is almost exactly what you pulled up, except it is portrait instead of landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same thing or different?
No, I would have to look at that particular form again. Is that the one that's being used for content?
No, it has my 3 different artifacts on it, and then it has a place where you can project artifact 4, 5, and 6.
Okay. Then it probably is for the same purpose.
Okay.
Okay, because if it has all those projections, this one, does it go all the way throughout all 2 years, yours, or just
Yes.
the first? It does. Okay, then it would be the same purpose, I believe.
Okay.
So if this layout is better, so does it say master progress guide on it?
I don't see that.
Okay.
No, what you've pulled up is it's a different document. It just I think the document that we're looking at, the professionalized learning plan, is just an overview of the 2-year progress. The other document is for us to fill in what we're doing and then when we've completed it.
Okay, we'll check on that too. Thank you for clarifying, Keith. Because you know what, I'd not looked in that document for so long, Courtney, I couldn't remember it.
Do you want us to share the screen? Because I have it pulled up too, what Courtney's talking about.
Sure.
I mean, I'll show you real quick what it is, because I pulled it up too, and when you were sharing, I was like, oh, this one looks different. So it's this one, the personalized learning plan, where we're putting each artifact, but it doesn't have the thing at the bottom to do the notes like you showed us.
So Skip, I think this was a earlier rendition of it, and this is the revised form. Do you think?
Oh,
Skip?
okay.
I think this was one of the very early forms that came
Yeah.
out, and you were just kind of more of a planning document. This is the one that Jamie's talking about, is more of a tracking document. This is what we've done, and this is happening when we completed it, and so on. Yeah,
That's
Okay.
in
they
the
are very
briefcase.
similar.
This form is in the briefcase.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's I think the purpose of that first one was to give you a flow. And I think, like kind of what Keith said, this one is kind of keeping track
Mhm.
of what you've done. But you know what? We'll let us take that back to the group and just say, do we really need both? And you know, let us take that back, because it doesn't make sense to me. We would need both.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you brought that to our attention, because let me tell you this, I had forgotten all about that. Okay, let's go on to the next. Let's go back to shares. Thank you so much again. Okay, there we go. So these planning prompts that's on your agenda. Again, Christy, this is that same thing of all those forms, you know, that we talked about, all those forms that were in that, some were in the briefcase and some were in your folders and different places. But these prompts are to help you tonight, and as you think till up to next month, when is it that, you know, because we're going to do the Sunday night before our next meeting.
Mhm.
So that'll be, you know, the end of September. So what would help you address your problem of practice? You know, you might want to do something that's an artifact that helps you gather data, you know, connected to your problem of practice. You might want to create a data collecting tool. You know, I mean, I'm just making up stuff here, guys, but you see how anything that connects to the problem of practice or a small chunk of the capstone might be something that would be great for your classroom component artifact.
Yeah.
And these are might. So you know how prompts are. If they're helpful, use it. If it just confuses you, let it go. Going down to the 5th bullet, I believe, what types of evidence or research should I read, review, and reference in the artifacts? We've talked about that, and that's something I think, like we said, we made a lot of growth in. That it really, you want it to be some research that's more evidence-based. That's something that you can feel strongly about, that you have confidence in the research. You know, you don't want it to be something that you don't have as much confidence about. So Skip, do you want to add to that?
I can't think of, no, I would also reiterate, if it helps, great. And if it doesn't, I would sort of let it go, because it's a process that's already fraught with a lot of documents and a lot of prompts, and it can get really thick. But the main thing is, you know, to me, is the embeddedness of this whole thing, is that I love the idea, you were just shooting from the hip, but you know, I'm thinking about just in the group that I sat in with Stephanie, Christy, and these guys were talking about collecting data just to even begin to get started, just to sort of, and so to create a data management tool just to manage all that data would be a great artifact, and bring that in and share it. So, don't just, hopefully this semester we're going to work really smart and just use things that help drive your capstone, and let your classroom stuff serve your capstone. So that's all I would add.
Yeah. And, so data that you're gathering, Courtney, from those kids that, from your jam boards, but all those pieces, that you're trying, all those pieces can fit in too. So your real work that supports your 3 C's is what we're looking for. And that can count as your classroom artifact. So going back to the shared screen and the agenda, I'm probably giving you whiplash from all this moving around. But when you look at that, we have attached here on your agenda, your same form, you're familiar with that, an artifact submission form that, you've seen this kind of life before. Hold on, it's going to come in. It has your dates tabs down here. Let me go back where I can get to the view. You can see that. Moving that down, see if I can get you. Sorry, my GRREC stuff's wanting me to just, look at everything tonight that's in my email right now. See if I can get to the tabs. I can't get to the tabs. Let's see if I can. Oh, okay. Now you can see the tabs, I think. So September 28th is our next cohort meeting. So the Sunday night before that Tuesday night, you will submit, just like you did last semester, your first classroom artifact. You will do that in the same manner that we did before. Let's go back to these headers. You'll choose, you go back to those standards that we talked about. Those standards are still alive because that's where we started. And you'll tell us which domain it's in. You'll tell us about the instructional focus area with your indicator. You'll link your artifact and then also your artifact form. Okay. And then the last thing we want you to think about tonight is we please ask you to, if you haven't gone back in and done your attendance, go in and do that. It's at the very top link. But also please do this reflection and feedback form, because it really gives Skip and I good data about tonight, but also it gives our whole cadre, all of our cohorts, it gives them collectively great feedback about what's working for you and what's not working for you, because we do strive to make this be better all the time. So would ask you right now before 6 o'clock, click on that right now, because we wanted to give you time to do it during your 2-hour time. Any questions?
So I have a question about the capstone. What's the paper that we were supposed to talk about tonight?
The template. The template.
The template. So see what?
I'm sorry. I was just saying the concept map. Is that what you were talking about?
No, the template for the capstone. So I chose field experience template. Like, that's a work in progress until the end of year 2, correct? Or does that, like, a little bit more specific on that?
Well, I don't know that it's exactly till the very December of year 2 when we finish, but it is a work in progress for quite some time. I mean,
Right.
So it would be a work in progress, all through this semester, and then next semester. By next semester, we'll have things more nailed down, and then by next fall, you'll be more in the sharing of it. You'll be in that stage, but
Because I didn't have a lot to put on there. And I was like, what am I doing? What do you mean 1, 2, and 3?
I would, even though we didn't require you to turn those in or anything, I would have those really, really fleshed out now. Because
Yeah, well, now I have an idea of
Yeah.
this is the data I need to collect.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where my capstone's going. This is my problem of practice. I've got a sense of that now.
Yeah.
It's just me collecting the data, then putting it on paper form.
Yeah.
For that.
Because it'll really guide you. It'll become this sort of thing that it's a document that you'll be working from. And, like you guys, many of you have done master's degrees where there's required a thesis. And so that thesis meeting, that first meeting, the proposal meeting, is so important. And you come to that meeting, and that's basically your first three chapters of your thesis. But it guides you, and it's very, very similar to the sections 1, 2, and 3 in this capstone. But it just guides you. You've laid out what your process is going to be, who your participants are going to be, what your problem of practice is. It's kind of laid it all out for you. So even though we haven't, Jamie may differ. I don't know if we're going to ask for you to turn those in, but certainly have them pretty much written, because it'll help you a lot.
Right. Yeah, I see that now.
Yeah. Colby had me thinking about my first thesis meeting. I was a school psychologist, and I was there was a brand new intelligence test that had just come out, and I was going to review that intelligence test and give it to some kids and just kind of, give it a good working through and so on. And I said, it wasn't a new one, actually. It was like a revision, basically, of a venerable IQ test. And I had written my first 3 chapters. We were going in for the proposal meeting, and the meeting was set and all that stuff. And the author of that intelligence test, his name is Richard Woodcock. Richard Woodcock put out this big announcement. I have a brand new intelligence test. It's just coming out. It's all completely new. So I talked to my thesis chair, and he said, you're going to have to find out how new it is, because if it's too new, you're done. You're sunk. You can't do anything. And so I called the university psychology department where this guy works, and he picks up the phone. Richard Woodcock, and I sort of freaked out. It's like, Joe Biden. I was like, oh my God, Dr. Woodcock. And I just asked him, I said, do you think it's are these 3 chapters, can I even, use them, or is it done? And he goes, buddy, you're finished. Just rip them up. This is a totally new test. So you're going to have to totally change course, which I did. It was fine. We survived. But Colby, you don't have to do that.
Well, thanks, Skip. You made me feel real good leaving this
you stick with your plan. You have a great plan.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time.
You don't have to toss anything out.
Well, it's a great story. Okay, any other questions? So, okay, you know what? When you're in the classroom and you have some students state back what we said we need to do next, who wants to do that? Who wants to tell us what we need to do next before September 28th or whatever that day is?
Finish typing up our project if we haven't already. Get a new artifact going and present it, and then to our classrooms, whatever that looks like for us, and then do our little artifact do Mahinky. I got all this down, right? Okay. And it's due Sunday before our meeting, which is September 28th.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, in the meantime, we have these individual meetings coming up. Let me look at next week. September 7th, we have Christy, Stuber, Taylor, and Keith. And of course, if you haven't signed up for one, please sign up for these individual meetings. And if you need another one, if you just want to continue to work on them a little bit, there are a lot of open sections. So we'd be happy to talk to you. Or if you're just if you just want to see if we have time in our schedule for another time that's not on the schedule, I'm happy to be flexible like that too.
Mhm.
I have a baby coming next week. I don't know when. We're waiting on the medical center to tell us when we can go in.
You know, Skip, I think that's quite an artifact.
That is. That's my artifact
Yeah.
for the Brooke Ed meeting.
A grandbaby?
No, a baby. And
You're having a baby?
isn't that crazy? I know. I'll be the oldest. I know. I'm crazy. I'm the oldest guy in the car line for sure.
No, you won't be
That's
the
okay.
oldest guy in the car line. You'll be the coolest guy in the car line.
Oh, there we go.
Our September
You will have the most
28th
patience.
meeting
Yeah.
is gonna be Skip shows the baby off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're going to have the best artifact.
Yeah.
She better be at the next meeting. That's all I'm saying.
She'll be there.
How old's your youngest child?
Right now? He's 24.
I love it.
I know.
She's going to be a dynamic, lovely
Oh, yeah.
person that's going to change the world.
Yeah.
My mother's oldest sister is 27 years older than she is. So everybody survives. You'll be fine.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna volunteer her to be in somebody's study too. So whoever's working with early childhood, this is early.
We'll be doing developmental milestones. So
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do it.
she will rock our world, and we will. We can't wait to. Just can't wait to just take her in. Wish we could have all of our senses instead of just our eyes on her. Wish we could all touch her, and we couldn't do that because of pandemic. But
Yeah.
anyway, getting to see her would be great.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Yes.
It's 6 o'clock. You are the best. Now, we will be in contact with some of you digital briefcase volunteers because Skip and I won't have a clue without you. So we will be in contact.
Yeah, I got your names down, so we're good.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Please fill out your forms.
Take
Helps
care.
us so much. Take care. Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Wear your mask. Wash your hands.